Already, Loaded for Life here, bringing us a brand new archetype analysis. This time around, we will be talking about the largest deck in Circuit Breaker, Crawlers. So, Crawlers are a very intriguing archetype. They are all level 2 insects with the exception of their Link 2 links. They're very flip focused. Every single one of the main deck monsters are flip effects. They have, generally speaking, control-oriented effects. Like, for instance, Dendrite here, he sends something from deck to grave. While then there's Axon and one other ones I can't remember that pop spells and traps and stuff. So they generally have good control-based effects. Flip effects as well, of course, obviously. That makes them kind of slow, though. And then, of course, also, they all have the same exact effect, being able to summon 2 Crawlers from your deck if they are destroyed while face up by an opponent's card effect. They have really good recursion. Every single one of the Link monsters have the same exact effect where if it dies, you can special summon any 2 Crawlers from your graveyard and face down defense position. And that is really, really good because they essentially pay for themselves if they die, and they probably will die very often. So really, really good recursion, really interesting, slow to start but hard to stop deck. Once this deck gets going, and it takes a few turns for the deck to click and really get going, this deck is really, really obnoxious and can get pretty scary, actually. Like, I know like people are probably just looking at me like, are you crazy? This deck, once it does get going, is actually like very oppressive and very, very scary. Okay, and you'll see why once we get talking about the Link monsters, because the main deck monsters are solely here to do basically control-based stuff and then clear the way for the Link monsters to go in for the kill. And that is really, really intriguing playstyle. I really do like this deck. It's cool, it's interesting, and has a lot of things going for it. It's just a bit too slow as a start. Like, it really could have used a bit more speed, and it's a bit lacking on the spell and trap support. So, first and foremost, the main deck monsters. We got Krawler, Receptor, Spine, Dendrite, Ranveer, Axon, and Galil. So, all the Krawler monsters are level 2 insects and earth. They have pretty low stats. Dendrite has the highest attack, while good old Spine has the highest defense. And you would think that for a flip deck they would have more defense, but oh well, that's just an annoyance. Now, as I said earlier, they do all have the same exact effect to where if they're destroyed by an opponent's card effect while face up on the field, you summon 2 Crawlers from your deck. That's a really, really good effect. It's not going to happen often, but when it does, it just is so incredibly awesome. And then they all have their own individual flip effects. So, when Receptors flip face up, you get to search out any Krawler monster. He can even grab himself, which is intriguing. Spine destroys monsters. Ranveer grabs 2 from the graveyard and puts them back in your hand, which is really, really good for basically a salvage-esque card just for this deck, because this deck floods the graveyard just as much as it does the field. Then we got Dendrite, who sends one from deck to grave, and it's any monster, just not just Krawler monster, so you can send stuff like Glow Up Bulb or good old Dandelion, stuff like that if you really wanted to. Then we got Krawler Axon, who destroys spells and traps, and then Gleo, who summons a Krawler from the graveyard or from the hand in either face-up attack position or face-down defense position. So, overall, if you look at all the monsters individually, they all have really good effects. Receptor being a search card that can even grab himself is just a bit ridiculous. Spine just being able to pop monsters. It's literally a man-eater bug. And then Axon doing the same thing, but for spells and traps. They have their own freaking archetypal Foolish Burial and Salvage and Monster Reborn / Marauding Captain. The deck has a lot of things going for it, but the issue is that they're foot-based. And historically speaking, foot-focused archetypes have not been all that great. And that's why a lot of people are just not looking forward to this deck, even though it's all common, and I'd actually recommend building it just because you'll probably be able to build the entire deck while trying to pull double helix, so you might as well give it a try just for the hell of it. But anyways, I digress. So the deck has a lot of really good monsters. They all have really good effects. Dendrite, I would say, is probably the worst, just because the Crawlers themselves get no real bonus for being in a graveyard other than Ranveer, Galil, and the Link monster's destructions effects. But anyways, I digress. Now then, speaking of the Link Monsters, and it just dawned on me I misspelled Dec, but oh well, whatever. So, we got Krawler, Krawler, which for some reason I cannot say correctly. We got Krawler Synapsis, we got Krawler Neuroghost. So these are the 3 boss monsters of the deck. I'd say Krawler is like the true boss monster, and Synapsis and Neuroghost are kind of like supplementary boss monsters. Because, well, actually I'd even say that they're all supplementary boss monsters, but I digress. I'm saying that a lot today. So, Krawler is, generally speaking, going to be the first one that you're going to go into, and he's really, really cool and very intriguing. So, basically what he does is he has 3 different effects, 4 if you also count his destruction effect, which all 3 Krawlers have. So, Krawler, he gains more effects based on how many Krawlers you control. So, 2 or more, all monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense. 4 or more, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated during the battle phase, and 6 or more, your monsters can attack your opponent directly. So, really, really good effects. You're not going to get that 6 effect very often, but 4 or more is not hard to do, and being able to lock out your opponent's battle traps and monster effects and anything else that would trigger during the battle phase is really, really good, especially since Evenly Matched came out in the same set as the Krawlers, so Krawler locks that card down, so you don't have to worry about losing your whole board to a board wipe. So, really, really, really good monster. He's only gets stronger as the game goes on, which basically puts a big target on his head, but, well, wherever that head is, but, oh well. So, he's generally speaking the first one you're going to go into. That or a Subterra Link monster, which we'll go into whenever we talk about outside support. But Krawler is definitely like the main monster to go into early on, as he just gets better and better as the duel goes on. And it's not hard to swarm to be for field with more of these guys. So then we got Krawler Synapsis and Neuroghost. So they both have similar effects, and well, they both have the same effects as Krawler, where, oh hey, if they died, you could summon 2 from grave. And then they also have the same effect between themselves, where monsters they point to gain 300 attack and defense, and cannot be destroyed by battle. Now, that's really cool and all, and that's only for Krawlers, so if you're pointing to like a, I don't know, a Subterra Behemoth over here, it's not going to trigger, it's not going to protect it or give it attack. But, however, being able to protect your smaller Krawlers from battle and destruction is really nice. Having these 2 point to each other is just even better, because they give, he'll make him 300 higher, he'll make him 300 higher, he can't be destroyed in battle, he can't be destroyed in battle, and you get a little soft lock, and then your opponent has to, like, nuke them with a Dark Hole or something, and then, oh, hey, you get to, well, plus off of that by bringing back 4 Krawlers from your graveyard. As I said, this deck swarms really fast whenever it does get going. Now then, Synapsis and Neuroghost also have their own individual effects. Synapsis does double, gives the monsters he points to double attacking, which is really, really good, but it's only on your opponent's monsters. So, like, for instance, if you have Synapsis pointing to Neuroghost, Neuroghost will be able to attack 2 monsters that your opponent controls each turn, which is really, really good. And then Neuroghost gives the monsters he points to double damage on its first attack on a monster, which is also really good. Now, as you can imagine, generally speaking, you want to try and summon multiple of these guys pointing to each other. So, like, having a Synapsis here and another one over here. So then you get a Neuroghost who's getting a 600 attack boost who can attack twice. That or you might want to summon out another Neuroghost over here. So then you get a Neuroghost who can attack twice and does double damage on the first attack and still gets that 600 attack boost. Well, actually, that'd be 900 because Krawler would have enough to give out another 300 attack and another 300 attack if you have the field spell out. So, yeah, this deck can deal a lot of damage very quickly once it gets going. Again, though, that's the key term right there. Once it gets going, this deck is really hard to get going, but once it does get going, it can be pretty scary. So, overall, I really do like all 3 of the boss monsters. They have really good effects. Interesting stat line, too, which it sounds terrible at first, like 2,000, 1,800, 1,900. But, again, they give so much attack boost. Like, he just blanket 300. He gives 300 to him. He gives 300 to him. Or, like, multiples of other copies, depending on, well, how many you got out on field. And then, of course, the field spell also boosts everybody up by 300. So, it gets pretty ridiculous how high their attack power can get in tandem along with being able to attack twice and do double damage. So, now then, for the spells and traps, there's one spell, one trap. Yeah, not much in the spell and trap department. So the field spell is like just really, really good. It's a really good field spell for a foot focused archetype. I feel like it could have been a bit better, but oh well. So, while it's out on the field, all crawlers on the field gain 300 attack and defense. Really interesting how it's all crawlers on the field, so if you're in a crawler mirror match, your opponent gets attack boosts too. Once per turn, you can spell summon a crawler from your hand, one level 2 or lower insect monster from your hand in face up or face down defense position, but let's be honest, that's going to be a crawler. When your foot monster is destroyed by battle and with an opponent's monster, you can send that opponent's monster to the graveyard. So, this card is really obnoxious for your opponent, and generally speaking, when you ever activate it, it gets a big target on its head. So, once per turn, you can just flat out summon a crawler, well, any level 2 or lower insect from your hand in face up or face down defense position, which is really good because that helps you get out more of the link monsters, or it lets you set up so that you can like summon an Axon in defense so you can start popping stuff, or you can set a Glial with it and start special summoning stuff from hand or grave. Even more so, you can also still normal summon or, you know, set stuff. And this is not a hard once per turn, so if you have multiple World Legacy and Shadows in your hand, you can activate all 3 in one turn and spell like empty out your whole hand. Now, I don't recommend that because you're going to empty out your whole hand, and all it takes is one card for your opponent to just do, and then, oh, hey, there you go, you just lost everything. So, yeah, Dark Hole, and then, yeah, you're kind of screwed. So, yeah, don't do that, but, like, you can if you really wanted to. Like, maybe if you have 2 and you want to try out and get a link as soon as possible. Really, really good. And then, of course, the big thing is that really obnoxious effect. So, whenever your opponent attacks into one of your crawlers, which they're going to have to do eventually if they want to get at your life points, unless they're playing Trickstar, then it's not happening. But anyways, so if they attack into one of your monsters, that's a foot monster, so that'll trigger that monster's effect. So like, let's say they attacked into an Axon, and then you get to pop something, and then that monster dies, and then you get to send the monster to just kill your crawler to the graveyard. And that is really good. It doesn't target, it doesn't destroy, and it just sends it to the graveyard. That is really, really, really good. That gets rid of so much stuff. Oh, hey, your opponent has a Beals? Okay, I can flip summon my monster, pop something, or bring back something, or search, or whatever, and then I can kamikaze into the Beals, and then kill that monster with the World Legacy and Shadow. That's really good. The fact that you don't also have to wait for your opponent to do stuff, you can just run your own monsters into your opponent's monsters to get it. It's such a good field spell. And then we got World Legacy Pawns, which is a continuous trap card. So you can target one face down monster you control, change it to face up attack or defense position So that right there is just really good, being able to just quick effect flip something from face down to face up position. And then once per turn, you can shuffle a crawler monster from your graveyard into the main deck. Then target one face-up monster you control, change it to face-down defense position. You only use one World Legacy Pawns effect per turn, and only once that turn. So Pawns would have been a lot better if it was not a hard once per turn, and if you could use both effects. I don't get why they did this on it to where you can't use multiple copies of it, and that you can only use one or the other, not both. That is really obnoxious, and as good as this card is for the deck, because, well, they have no other spell or trap support, so you have to play it, but it's really, I feel like Konami put too many restrictions on it, is my big thing. It really should have been able to do both effects in a turn, especially since you have to shuffle a crawler from your graveyard back into the deck to do the second effect. Just to put something face down, which you can do with Book of Moon and not have to worry about that. But Book of Moon's a quick play spell card, not a continuous trap, so you only get one use out of it. But either way, this card really could have been better, but it's still a great support card for a flip-focused deck. And you can even play it in other flip-focused decks like Tinned Angle or Tinned Angle or Subterror or God forbid, freaking Shadal, which you don't really need for Shadal, but, you know, either way, neither here nor there. And then I want to talk about the World Legacy. He didn't really fit anywhere else. So, like with everything else in this little story arc, every single one of these archetypes are getting a World Legacy monster that goes along with it. So, World Legacy World Armor, he's a level 7, 2500 attack, 2500 defense. When a monster is flip summoned, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is normal or special summon, you can add one World Legacy card from your deck to your hand. If this normal summoned or set card is on the field, quick effect. You can target one face-up monster that was spell summoned from the extract, return both that monster and this card to the hand. You can only use each effect of World Legacy, World Armor once per turn. So this card has 3 really good effects. Just being able to summon it from your hand whenever you flip summon something, and when you do, being able to search out a World Legacy card, which both the spells and traps, well, both spell and trap, have World Legacy in the name, so you can grab the field spell or the trap card, or any of the other World Legacy cards as well. And then being able to, well, bounce him back to hand if he was normal summon or set. The issue here is you don't ever normal summon or set this thing. Like, it just doesn't happen. The deck does not have any capability in doing so without losing a lot of resources. That resources that you put into summoning the World Armor could have been used for, well, making one of the Link monsters instead. But, yeah, so I really don't care about his last effect, but being able to just plop them on field for free and get to search out something is really great. If you get multiples out, it only gets better because you can just get more and more, and you can make a rank 7 or something. So yeah, just a really good beater for the deck. For the deck, the deck doesn't have very much main deck offense, so being able to get a free 2500 beat stick is pretty good. Then we got the outside support, and there's a lot of it. So first and foremost, I do have to talk about the Subterror Link monster. It's generic for for flip face decks. Why do I keep wanting to say flip face? Flip focus decks, and it just lets you get more flip monsters back from the deck to the graveyard and out onto the field and into your hand and stuff. It's just an overall really good card, and it's probably the better starter card for the deck before you go into Krawler. Then we got Multiplication of Ants, which, if you guys don't know, you tribute off a insect you control and then spell summon 2 ant tokens. You can't normal summon or set at that turn. The tokens cannot be used for a tribute summon. So you just use them for the link summon of one of the X-Crawlers, which I don't think I mentioned it, but Krawler is, well, the most archetype specific of the deck. He needs 2 Crawlers, and this guy needs 2 Earth, and he needs 2 Insects. So Multiplication of the Ants fits 2 of those restrictions for Nerogos and Synapsis, which is great. Spider Egg, I haven't personally playtested in the deck, neither Multiplication of Ants for that matter. But Spider Egg seems pretty good. Activate only when your opponent declares a direct attack while you have 3 or more insect-type monsters in your graveyard. Negate the attack and then spell summon 3 spider tokens, which are insect and earth. That's really the big thing right there, is that not only do you get to negate the attack, but you get 3 tokens that you can use for anything, for, well, link summons and stuff. Or you can tribute them off for, well, your World Legacy if you really wanted to. Then we got Verdant Sanctuary, which I personally highly recommend, at least as a 2-of for the deck. So when a face-up insect-type monster is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can add another insect monster to the same level an attribute or something. If I can't really read that text. Same level as a destroyed monster, but yeah, from your deck to your hand. So yeah, just a great card in general. Then we got Wormbait, which actually skyrocketed to like $5 because it's only had 1 printing as a video game promo. And there was a small amount of hype for Crawlers, which is intriguing because most people consider this deck complete and utter crap. So we got Wormbait, which you can only activate if you control a face-up insect monster. You spell summon 2 worm tokens, earth, insect, that's the key thing right there. To your side of the field, you cannot normal summon or spell summon level 3 or 4 monsters the turn you activate this card. But you don't care about that because you use level 2 monsters, so really, really good card for the deck. And then we got the other World Legacy cards. So World Chalice is actually not half bad in the deck, if only because if it's in the graveyard, which it will get in there pretty easily thanks to Dendrite, you can banish it from your graveyard to search out a World Legacy card, which is always wonderful. Then we got World Legacy Landmark, which says banish a World Legacy from your hand or face up on your side of the field, and then spell summon 2 monsters from your graveyard, but they cannot attack this turn. So just a really good generic monster reborn for the deck just by banishing a World Legacy, like for instance Chalice or Armor, which is always wonderful. And then World Legacy Trap Globe, which basically you shuffle into the deck from your World Legacy cards with different names from your banished hand or graveyard and or face up on your field, back in the deck, and then draw 2 cards. This card's really only good if you're playing a lot of the World Legacy support, because the deck inherently has 3, and then if you're playing Landmark and World Chalice, that's 5, so then that's really good. But Trap Globe cannot shuffle itself back in, so you can't play more than 1 copy, really. So that is everything about Crawlers. That's like all their outside support that really does matter. There's a few other cards, like for instance the new insect support from the next Legendary Duel set coming out, I think in February or something. I can't remember when it's coming out for TCG or if that's even been announced yet. But the the new stuff in that set is really good for this deck as well. So I would recommend just checking out the deck, maybe picking it up just for the fun of it, and maybe trying out the deck and different ideas with it. Because the Archetype is really fun. It's intriguing. It has a very intriguing win condition just by swarming the field with link monsters that just really want to boost each other up with their link arrows and stuff. And the deck has a lot of things going for it, but it does need... I think the big thing is it needs more spells and traps. It really does. Having a field spell and a continuous trap card is not enough for a deck, Konami. Come on. So, I don't know. What do you guys think about Crawlers? What do you guys think they need? Do you like Crawlers? Do you want to play the deck? Are you picking it up? Do you already have it built? What are you guys' thoughts and opinions? Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And see you all later. Peace out and goodbye.